Now, when you look into the kind of deliveries that NEO has generated for the first 3 quarters of this year, ladies and gents, they are now sitting at 109,000 vehicles, which is something that, of course, it is good when you compare to the kind of deliveries they were sitting at last year around the same time. Because, ladies and gents, last year they were sitting at around 82,000 vehicles on the same period of vehicles in the same period, which comparing to the 109,900 that we are seeing year to date, it is something that, though we are not seeing the kind of deliveries that probably we want to see on NEO, it is still a very good, of course, figure, because it is a 33% or over 33% increase year over year. So this, ladies and gents, just has to show you that NEO, regardless of the kind of vehicles that maybe we are seeing them delivering, or maybe regardless of NEO not delivering the kind of deliveries we want to see, but it is a company that it is growing in terms of deliveries. And that, ladies and gents, it is one of the most important things that as a new investor you need to take note of. Yes, I know the growth might not be the kind of growth that we want to see, but this company, it is still growing. I mean, 33%, it is considered to be a good growth, or I think personally we are to consider it as a good growth. I personally think that now in Q4 we are to expect even a much better growth or much better deliveries than the 55,000 deliveries we saw for the Q3. Because as I've been saying in the previous videos, ladies and gents, in Q4 what we usually see when it comes to deliveries, we usually see big numbers, or we usually see more numbers comparing to the other quarters of the year, simply because of the demand that Q4 tends to bring. So I'm very excited and I'm hopeful, and I'm not that worried about the kind of growth that we are seeing, because, ladies and gents, at 33% it is still a good growth, as I'm saying, because last year after Q3 NEO was sitting at just over 82,000 vehicles, and now after Q3 they are sitting at almost 110,000 vehicles, which is a 33% increase, which that, to me, it is something that we must take note of. I know right now it might not be looking promising, or things might not be looking promising for NEO, but I personally think that over 40,000 deliveries that we saw in Q4 of 2022, NEO is easily going to thresh that this Q4, because what we normally see in Q4 is that, of course, the deliveries tends to be much more due to the demand that comes with Q4. But of course, before we dig deep into this video, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video. I would really appreciate if you can just hit the likes button if you are to enjoy the content that I'm giving you about NEO's growth in terms of deliveries. I mean, you will know that NEO is one of the stocks that I talk a lot about on this channel, because I believe in the fundamentals and their future prospects, and I know for a fact that, ladies and gents, though we are seeing this kind of growth this year, although we are still seeing growth of over 33% for the first 3 quarters, one thing for sure, or one thing is certain, that next year we'll be sitting with even much better numbers than the numbers we are seeing this year, meaning that we are still going to continue seeing growth, especially next year, NEO, knowing that they will be launching their, or starting the deliveries of their sub brand, which targets the mass market. So this is something that I think it is important for you as a new investor to take note of, because one of the things that I've been seeing in the streets of social media is that so many people are disappointed. Some of the retail investors are sad about NEO, especially looking at the share price, which I think there's sort of like a disconnect from the share price against the fundamentals of NEO, because fundamentally NEO, it is a company that is doing pretty good. I mean, the 55 or over 55,000 vehicles that we saw them delivering in Q3 were record breaking, because it's the most that NEO has delivered in a quarter were just over 40,000 deliveries, which you saw them coming in Q4 of 2022. To get to see NEO going over 55,000, it is to be noted by investors, and chances are very high that, ladies and gents, this month we are going to not only thrash the kind of deliveries we saw NEO producing in Q4 of 2022, and that is the deliveries of over 40,000, but we are going to see NEO thrashing the kind of deliveries they delivered for Q3 of 2023, which that, ladies and gents, it is something that is incredible, because we know for a fact that demand tends to, even if it is a demand issue in terms of deliveries, when you go to NEO, we know that demand tends not to be a problem in the car, in this in this fast growing EV industry during the Q4, because demand tends to go high because of people want to get their hands onto the new vehicles as they head towards the festive seasons. So I'm very excited and I look forward to the kind of deliveries that NIO will report now in Q4. I know the NEV insurance registrations we have received are not promising as much, or are not promising when we of course try to picture or look at the kind of deliveries that NIO could deliver for the month of October. But ladies and gents, I still believe that this company, it will do very well and thresh not only the deliveries they reported in Q4 of 2022, but they'll also thresh the deliveries they reported in Q3 of 2023, and that is the deliveries of over 55,000 vehicles. So I know share price wise, ladies and gents, when we look into the share price, yeah, share price wise, NIO is at the bottom of the belly, as the CEO of NIO said himself. But this is a company that continues to grow. This is the company that they continue to, of course, grow their fundamentals, which is something that I think investors should look into. That, I mean, the fact that we are seeing most of the other EV stocks performing better in terms of the share price year to date, it is something that, of course, I know it is painful to those that are investing onto NIO, but I think our day will come, our time will come. And we have seen a video where, of course, some of investors or some people that, of course, own the NIO stock were talking to the NIO CEO, who indicated that they know, as I've said, or as I've just mentioned, that the stock price of NIO is at the bottom of the belly, but they are still, of course, positive when looking to the future. They are still seeing blue sky coming through. And of course, looking at the numbers, though it might not be the kind of numbers that we were thinking, but over 33% year-over-year increase just from the first 3 quarters, it is something that as a new investor you need to obviously think about and see, or makes you to see that NIO, it is growing. It is a company that is growing. Maybe it is not growing, or maybe the comment rather should be, it's not growing the way we thought it would be growing this year, but growth is there, guys. This company is growing and there's no doubt about that. The numbers are speaking for themselves. So when we talk of course, earnings, we know that first 2 quarters gross margins were very, very low. I mean, Q1 we saw gross margin coming to 1.5%, Q2 1%, and now the NIO CEO, as he has said, they're expecting gross margins to go back to double digit, which is something that will be of course so interesting, seeing NIO coming back from gross margin of 1%, 1.5% to again double digits. So this is a company that, ladies and gents, things will improve as the months go by, or as the quarters go by, which is something that, of course, as a new investor, I think it's good that we focus on the long term of the company. I mean, in NIO, ladies and gents, you will know that not only is this company just focused on selling cars, but they are also focused on customers' experience, lifestyle segment, which is something that, of course, entails those that buy the NIO cars to enjoy, of course, not only the kind of comfort that the car brings, but also the customer service and all those kind of things. I mean, you will know that on other sales, it is for these reasons or that we see each and every quarter NIO reporting total revenues of over $200 million from the other revenues. So this is car sales, which is something that is incredible, because these revenues are generated by their other things that NIO provides to those that own the NIO cars. I mean, there's battery swapping station technology. There's the NIO phones right now, which is going to be featured to that. There's also the NIO lifestyle, of course, products that you could buy, which is something, or other things that, of course, you get to see them generating some good revenues to NIO. I mean, these very same figures, last year we were seeing, of course, NIO on average trading or generating just over $100 million, and this year we saw, especially in Q2, this figure or other sales figure going over 200,000, which this again, it is something that you should take note of, especially with battery swapping stations. This is a very good income generating, of course, a stream when you look into, of course, the NEO as a whole. I think battery swapping stations are one of the things that will help NEO generate lots and lots of revenues, which is something that I think as a new investor, over and above the revenues that we might tend to, or that we will be getting from the car sales, but we should also think about the revenues that we will get, of course, from things like battery swapping stations, things like the Neo phone, things like the Neo products, which, ladies and gents, they continue to add more and more products, which is something that we are going to see growth also into those things, especially when the Neo community continues growing. So I'm very excited, and I think, yes, though we are not seeing the kind of growth that we expected in terms of deliveries, this is a company that is still growing. I mean, the over 33% year-over-year increase, I think it is a good number, and I think by the time they report the Q4 earnings, we might see this number even going to, of course, probably over 40%, which is something that, should it happen that we don't get to see over 200,000 vehicles, it will still be a good growth, right? I know a lot of people and the Neo executives, the ladies and gents, they've promised over 200,000 this year, but it's not that bad, or things are not that bad. It's just that maybe we're expecting a lot more from Neo, but I think they're still doing pretty good, which is something that I think you should always have at the back of your mind when you look into the numbers. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I make tons and tons of stock market investing videos, and if you think that this video was amazing, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey, and God bless you all.